Welcome to our guide on log analytics in Google Cloud. Today we're exploring an exciting but straightforward concept, how to analyze cloud logging data using BigQuery. We'll cover multiple approaches to help you find the most efficient and effective setup for your needs. The main benefit of this process is powerful. You'll be able to perform large-scale analysis of your logs, which helps you discover patterns and identify potential issues in your applications. This capability is invaluable for maintaining and improving your systems. Let's begin with a practical example in the Google Cloud Platform. To generate some example logs for our demonstration, we'll first deploy a service. Specifically, we'll set up an Nginx container using Cloud Run. During this setup, there are two important configuration points to remember. We'll allow unauthenticated invocations, and we need to make sure to change the port settings since Nginx operates on port 80 rather than the default port 8080. All the other default settings can remain as they are. With these configurations in place, we can proceed with deployment. Once our service is successfully deployed and running, we can access it through the provided URL to see Nginx in action. This setup gives us two valuable sources of logs: the application's own activity logs and the system logs from the Cloud Run service itself. These system logs capture important information, including when we create or update the service. Now comes the exciting part: setting up cloud logging. There are two distinct approaches we can take for this setup, and we'll explore both methods to give you a complete understanding. Let's start by looking at how we can handle access logs. The process begins with filtering logs by the request URL for specific Cloud Run services. Once we have our filtered view, we can access the Actions menu, where we'll find the option to create what's called a sink from these logs. When creating our sink, we'll select BigQuery as our destination. This step involves creating a new dataset in BigQuery that will store our logs. We can reuse the same filters we established earlier to ensure we're capturing the right log data. After setting up the sink configuration, there's an important security step. We need to add the correct permissions to the BigQuery dataset. The documentation recommends assigning something like the data editor role, which provides sufficient access for our logging purposes. To generate more data for our analysis, we can make additional requests to our Nginx service. These requests will create new log entries that we can analyze later. After setting everything up, we can verify our configuration by checking the log router, where we should now see BigQuery listed as a destination for our specified logs. At this point, it's good to take a short break while the system processes the data. After a few minutes, we can return to BigQuery, refresh our view, and examine the contents of our dataset. As an example of the kind of analysis we can perform, we might want to query for all requests with an HTTP request status of 304. This type of filtering allows us to analyze various aspects of our system's behavior, such as the number of requests resulting in errors. It's worth noting that our log routing isn't mutually exclusive, meaning logs can be sent to multiple destinations simultaneously. In our case, the logs are being sent to both the default bucket and our BigQuery dataset because they match both filter conditions. Now let's discuss another important option: custom logging buckets. These buckets can be used with log analytics, which offers some distinct advantages. When we create a custom logging bucket and direct our logs to it, we can establish a linked dataset that appears in BigQuery. This linked dataset approach is particularly interesting because it provides a more streamlined way to analyze our logs. This second approach, using a linked dataset with log analytics, is generally considered the preferred method, and this preference is well documented in Google Cloud's official documentation. The main advantage is cost efficiency since we avoid duplicating data in BigQuery. Additionally, it provides a more managed experience overall, making it easier to maintain and work with your log data. While the log analytics approach is typically the better choice, we're covering both methods to give you a complete understanding of your options. This way, you can make an informed decision based on your specific needs and requirements. Let's explore the actual process of setting up the log analytics approach in more detail. When using this method, we start by creating a new dataset specifically for our log analytics. Then we need to route our logs to the newly created custom bucket. We can set this up to include all logs or use filters to specify exactly which logs we want to analyze. Once we create this sink, the system will begin directing logs according to our specifications. Within just a few minutes of setting up this configuration, you'll see your analytics logs appear in BigQuery as a linked dataset. This is one of the most convenient aspects of this approach, the seamless integration between your logging system and analysis tools. You can then query these logs directly in BigQuery just as you would with the previous method, but with the added benefits of better resource management and cost efficiency. The core difference between the two approaches we've covered lies in how the data is handled. In the first method, we're essentially copying our log data into BigQuery, which means we're storing the same information in two places. With the log analytics approach, we're creating a more efficient connection between our logging system and BigQuery, avoiding unnecessary data duplication while maintaining all the analytical capabilities we need. The Google Cloud documentation strongly supports this second approach, and for good reason. It's not just about cost saving, though that's certainly important. The log analytics method provides a more streamlined, managed experience that's easier to maintain over time. You get all the benefits of powerful log analysis without the overhead of managing duplicate data sets. If you'd like to support the channel, consider starting a free trial of our new design tool, which is linked in the description, and let us know what you think. Thank you very much for watching to the end, and please enjoy responsibly.